12.18 at Savatthi. Then the wanderer Timbaruka approached the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, he sat down to one side and said, "How is it, Master Gotama? Are pleasure and pain created by oneself?" "Not so, Timbaruka," the Blessed One said. Then, Master Gotama, are pleasure and pain created by another? "Not so, Timbaruka," the Blessed One said. "How is it then, Master Gotama? Are pleasure and pain created both by oneself and by another?" "Not so, Timbaruka," the Blessed One said. Then, Master Gotama, have pleasure and pain arisen fortuitously, being created neither by oneself nor by another? "Not so, Timbaruka," the Blessed One said. "How is it then, Master Gotama? Is there no pleasure and pain?" "It is not that there is no pleasure and pain, Timbaruka. There is pleasure and pain." "Then is it that Master Gotama does not know and see pleasure and pain?" "It is not that I do not know and see pleasure and pain, Timbaruka. I know pleasure and pain. I see pleasure and pain." Whether you are asked, "How is it, Master Gotama? Are pleasure and pain created by oneself, or are they created by another, or are they created by both, or are they created by neither?" In each case you say, "Not so, Timbaruka." When you are asked, "How is it then, Master Gotama? Is there no pleasure and pain?" you say, "It is not that there is no pleasure and pain, Timbaruka. There is pleasure and pain." When asked, "Then is it that Master Gotama does not know and see pleasure and pain?" you say, "It is not that I do not know and see pleasure and pain, Timbaruka. I know pleasure and pain. I see pleasure and pain." "Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One explain pleasure and pain to me. Let the Blessed One teach me about pleasure and pain." And the Buddha said, "Timbaruka, if one thinks the feeling and the one who feels it are the same, then one asserts with reference to one existing from the beginning, pleasure and pain are created by oneself. If I do not speak thus, but Timbaruka, if one thinks the feeling is one, the one who feels it is another, then one asserts with reference to one stricken by feeling, pleasure and pain are created by another. Neither do I speak thus, without veering towards either of these extremes. The Tathagata teaches the Dhamma by the middle. With ignorance as condition, volition comes to be. With volition as condition, consciousness comes to be, etc., etc. That is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. But with the remainderless fading away and cessation of ignorance, comes cessation of volition. The cessation of volition, cessation of consciousness, etc. Such is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. When this was said, the naked ascetic Timbaruka said to the Blessed One, "Magnificent Master Gotama, magnificent." And then he also took refuge with the triple gems, and then he became a lay follower of the Buddha. So here it's quite similar to the preceding one. The preceding was talking about suffering. Here is pleasure and pain. It's basically the same. 12.19 at Savatthi, Buddha said, "Monks, for the fool, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, this body has thereby originated. So there is this body, an external name and form, or external mentality, materiality. Thus this diet, dependent on the diet of body and namarupa, there is contact. There are just 6 sense spaces, contacted through which, or through a certain one among them, the fool experiences pleasure and pain. Monks, for the wise man, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, this body has thereby originated. So there is this body and external namarupa, mentality, materiality." Let's stop here for a moment. So here you see, Buddha says, we have this body, and externally there is mentality and materiality. We have this body, and this mentality and materiality is phenomena. Is phenomena. Phenomena is what consciousness is conscious of, the object of consciousness. That's why here it said to be external. Dependent on the diet, both of them, there is contact. There are just 6 sense spaces, contacted through which, or through a certain one among them, the wise man experiences pleasure and pain. What, monks, is the distinction here? What is the disparity? What is the difference between the wise man and the fool? Venerable Sir, our teachings are rooted in the Blessed One. guided by the Blessed One. Take recourse in the Blessed One. It would be good if the Blessed One would clear up the meaning of this statement. Having heard it from him, the monks will remember it. Then listen and attend closely, monks, I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monks replied. The Blessed One said, Monks, for the fool, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, this body has originated. For the fool, that ignorance has not been abandoned and that craving has not been utterly destroyed. For what reason? Because the fool has not lived the holy life for the complete destruction of suffering. Therefore, with the breakup of the body, the fool fares on to another body. Faring on to another body, he is not freed from birth, aging and death, not freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair, not freed from suffering, I say. Monks, for the wise man, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, this body has originated. For the wise man, that ignorance has been abandoned and that craving has been utterly destroyed. For what reason? Because the wise man has lived the holy life for the complete destruction of suffering. Therefore, with the breakup of the body, the wise man does not fare on to another body. Not faring on to another body, he is freed from birth, aging and death, freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair, freed from suffering, I say. This, monks, is the distinction, the disparity, the difference between the wise man and the fool, that is, the living of the holy life. Well, that's the end of the sutta. So here, the Buddha says the difference between the wise man and the fool is that the wise man follows the Dhamma and practices the Dhamma to end suffering, whereas the fool is not interested in the Dhamma, continues with the life of a normal person and will continue on the round of rebirths, suffering for a long time. 12.20 at Savatthi. Monks, I will teach you dependent origination and dependently arisen phenomena. Listen and attend closely. I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monks replied. And what, monks, is dependent origination? With birth as condition, aging and death comes to be. Whether there is an arising of Tathagatas or no arising of Tathagatas, that element still persists. The stableness of the Dhamma, the fixed cause of the Dhamma, specific conditionality. A Tathagata awakens to this and breaks through to it. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it. And he says, see, with birth as condition, monks, aging and death, with existence as condition, birth, with clinging as condition, existence, with craving as condition, clinging, with feeling as condition, craving, with contact as condition, feeling, with the six sense basis as condition, contact, mentality, materiality as condition, the six sense basis, with consciousness as condition, mentality and materiality, with volition as condition, consciousness, with ignorance as condition, volition. Whether there is an arising of Tathagatas or no arising of Tathagatas, the element still persists. The stableness of the Dhamma, the fixed cause of the Dhamma, specific conditionality. The Tathagata awakens to this and breaks through to it. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it, and he says, see, with ignorance as condition, monks, volition. Thus, monks, the actuality in this, the inerrancy, the not otherwiseness, specific conditionality, this is called dependent origination. And what, monks, are the dependently arisen phenomena? Aging and death, monks, is impermanent, condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, vanishing, fading away and cessation. Similarly, birth is impermanent, existence is impermanent, clinging is impermanent, craving is impermanent, feeling is impermanent, contact is impermanent, six sense bases are impermanent, mentality, materiality is impermanent, consciousness is impermanent, volition is impermanent, ignorance is impermanent, condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, vanishing, fading away and cessation. These, monks, are called dependently arisen phenomena. When, monks, A noble disciple has clearly seen with correct wisdom, as it really is, this dependent origination and these dependently arisen phenomena. It is impossible that he will run back into the past, thinking, did I exist in the past? Did I not exist in the past? What was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what did I become in the past? Or that he will run forward into the future, thinking, will I exist in the future? Will I not exist in the future? What will I be in the future? How will I be in the future? Having been what will I become in the future? Or that he will now be inwardly confused about the present, thus, do I exist? Do I not exist? What am I? How am I? This being, where has it come from? And where will it go? For what reason is this impossible? Because monks, the noble disciple has clearly seen with correct wisdom, as it really is, this dependent origination and these dependently arisen phenomena. That's the end of the sutta. So here the Buddha says, whether Buddhas arise in the world or Buddhas do not arise, the fixed law of Dhamma is always there. Whether Buddha is here to explain it to us or Buddha is not here to explain it to us, we are all bound by these laws of the Dhamma. Dhamma is just about reality, the truth about existence. It's just that the Buddha has become enlightened. He has seen through all this, so he explains it to us. But whether he does explain or he does not explain, we are all bound by all these laws of the Dhamma, or the laws of the universe. So among them is this dependent origination, that suffering arises because of these conditions. And these conditions, the Buddha says, all are impermanent, dependently arisen. That means suffering itself, birth itself, being, clinging, craving, all this is impermanent. So because it is impermanent, it can change. So if we understand how to dismantle these 12 links, then we are freed from the round of rebirths. So in the end, the Buddha says, if a person understands the Dhamma and sees that everything is dependently arisen, then he will not speculate about himself in the past or in the future and all that. He's only concerned with the here and now. But most people, because we don't understand the Dhamma, we are all concerned about the past, the present, and all our the future and all the things in the world that we think are I and mine. All the things that belong to us, we think we cannot let go. But actually, the Buddha says nothing actually belongs to us. We came empty-handed and we'll be going off empty-handed. Even this body does not belong to us. How can anything belong to us when this body itself also doesn't belong to us? 12.22 at Savatthi, the Buddha said, monks, possessing the 10 powers and the 4 grounds of self-confidence, the Tathagata claims the place of the chief bull of the herd, roars his lion's roar in the assemblies, and sets rolling the Brahma wheel thus. Such is form, such its origin, such its passing away, such is feeling, such its origin, such its passing away, such is perception, such its origin, such its passing away, such is volition, such is the origin, such is passing away, such is consciousness, such its origin, such is passing away. Thus, when this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises. When this does not exist, that does not come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases. That is, with ignorance as condition, volition comes to be. With volition as condition, consciousness, etc. Such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. But with the remainderless fading away and cessation of ignorance, comes cessation of volition. With the cessation of volition, cessation of consciousness, etc. Such is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. Monks, the Dhamma has thus been well expounded by me, elucidated, disclosed, revealed, stripped of patchwork. When monks, the Dhamma has thus been well expounded by me, elucidated, disclosed, revealed, stripped of patchwork. This is enough for a clansman who has gone forth out of faith to arouse his energy thus. Willingly let only my skin, sinews and bones remain, and let the flesh and blood dry up in my body. But I will not relax my energy so long as I have not attained what can be attained by manly strength, by manly energy, by manly exertion. Monks, the lazy person dwells in suffering, soiled by evil, unwholesome states, and great is the personal good that he neglects. But the energetic person dwells happily, secluded from evil, unwholesome states, and great is the personal good that he achieves. It is not by the inferior that the supreme is attained. Rather, it is by the supreme that the supreme is attained. In other words, you want to attain the supreme results, you need supreme effort. Monks, this holy life is a beverage of cream. The teacher is present. Therefore, monks, arouse your energy for the attainment of the as yet unattained, for the achievement of the as yet unachieved, for the realization of the as yet unrealized, with the thought, in such a way this going forth of ours will not be barren, but fruitful and fertile. And when we use the robes, alms, food, lodgings and medicinal requisites offered to us by others, these services they provide for us will be of great fruit and benefit to them. Thus, monks, should you train yourselves. Considering your own good, monks, it is enough to strive for the goal with diligence. Considering the good of others, it is enough to strive for the goal with diligence. Considering the good of both, it is enough to strive for the goal with diligence. That's the end of the sutta. So the Buddha says, he has the 10 powers and the 4 grounds of self-confidence. So he claims the chief bull of the herd, draws his lion's roar, and starts rolling the Dhamma. Just now he was explaining the 5 aggregates, body, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness. What it is, how it arises, how it passes away and all that. And then the Buddha said, since the Dhamma is so well revealed by Samyutta Nikaya, we should put forth all our energy to practice the Buddha's words, even to the extent that only skin and bones remain. Even then we should exert with all our energy. The lazy person dwells in suffering, soiled by evil, unwholesome straits. The energetic person dwells happily, secluded from evil, unwholesome states. It is not by the inferior that the supreme is attained. That means not by small effort that you can get big results. You want big results, you need big effort. So this not only applies to monks, it also applies to lay people. Once you have heard the Dhamma, if you don't practice it, you are what the Buddha calls a fool. Just now he says the difference between the fool and the wise man. The fool, having heard the Dhamma, still doesn't want to practice. But the wise man, he knows if you practice the Dhamma, it's good for you, it's good for others, it's good for both. I think I'll stop here and continue the next day. The Buddha has put in a lot of effort to teach us the Dhamma. 45 years the Buddha went around preaching the suttas. And now we are so lucky, we have most of the Buddha's words in book form. So if we don't invest a little bit of money to buy these Nikayas and study it, the Buddha says we must be a fool. Anything to discuss? Yeah. The next sutta we are going to read tomorrow night is exactly this. That the condition for seeing things as they really are is samadhi. So the deeper samadhi you have, the more clearly you see. The less samadhi you have, the less depth your vision. So that's why if you don't have good samadhi, a person who listens to the Dhamma, at most he can become a sotapanna. first spark or first fruit. But a person with the 4 jhanas, when he listens to the same Dhamma, he can become liberated and become an arahant. Yeah, in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha talked about those things that are difficult to find in the world. One is like a person who is grateful if you've done him a favor. Another one is the Buddha. Buddha is another rare person to find in the world. Another one, a person who can teach the Dhamma like the Buddha. Who can teach the Dhamma almost like the Buddha, also very rare to find. Yes, we are so fortunate to have the Buddha's words in black and white. So we just take the trouble to study it again and again. And then as we meditate and clear our mind, slowly we understand. Studying the Dhamma is not easy. When I first came to do the Dhamma, maybe I have strong affinity with the Dhamma. When I came to the Dhamma, I was extremely happy to meet the Dhamma again. Then, but in spite of that, when I started reading the Buddha's words, I found it very hard to understand. But then I continued studying, then I realized slowly the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle slowly fit together, and we begin to see the overall picture. In the beginning, you don't see the overall picture. You don't see what it looks like. Only after many pieces fall into place, then you begin to see clearer and clearer. So in the same way as we study the suttas, in the beginning, many things we don't understand. But as we keep on plodding through the suttas, because each sutta explains the Dhamma in a different way, from a different angle. So as we read more suttas, then we see it from more viewpoints, then we understand better. So that's why I always encourage people to study as many suttas as possible. And I always say it's not necessary to learn Pali, because there are some people, they spend a lot of time learning Pali, and after they learn Pali, they go through the sutta word by word, they try to analyze each word and all that, and you find they haven't gone through many suttas. So because they haven't gone through many suttas, their knowledge of the Dhamma is not so good. That's another person, even though he does not know Pali, he goes through all the suttas and goes through many times, his understanding will be much better. The Buddha is a very straightforward person. He talks, it's not to curry favor, not to be popular or whatnot. The Buddha's words are very straightforward. So, like just now, the sutta we read, the difference between a wise man and a fool. Fool doesn't want to practice the Dhamma. It's very true. When you think some people hear this kind of words, they're not happy. Okay, there's nothing. That's a merit.